Hello again. In this video, we are going to talk about overcoming fears. Now, in the last video, we talked about building confidence. And in part of building confidence, we have to get rid of that negative thinking. And part of that negative thinking is that fear that comes along with something that we don't feel confident in. Now, the number one fear of people, at least in the United States, I'm sure this is across the world as well, is public speaking. Getting up in front of people and speaking. So it's no wonder that the number one fear that I hear from most of my students is getting up and speaking in front of native English speakers. Okay, so it's fear of public speaking, and then we're going to take that to another level and have to do it in your second language. So I understand the fear, I understand the concern. So today let's talk about how to overcome that and how to really address that so that fear can be displaced with confidence. Okay, so let me give you an example from my life, and through this example I want to show you what I have come to overcome, or I have learned in overcoming that fear. Okay, so in developing these videos, I had a great fear in getting in front of the camera. So before I even started developing this course, I knew that I wanted to do it, and I knew that that was my goal, but I did have a great fear in getting up in front of the camera and teaching in front of the camera. And so in this process of overcoming my fear, here's what I did that helped me in being able to overcome that so that I could develop this course and accomplish that goal. Now, the way I see it, faith and fear are opposites. So faith is the opposite of fear. Now, you don't have to be a religious person to have faith. Faith is believing or hoping in something that is not seen. Okay, that is faith, believing or hoping in something that is not seen. So for example, you can believe and hope that you will be able to speak confidently and without any fear when speaking in front of native English speakers. Okay, that's the hope. That's what you can have faith in. So it really does start with faith. You have to believe that. You have to see that. And the more faith you have in that end results, the more you can see that and visualize that and believe in that, the more possible it is for you to accomplish that. So like I said in the last video, the power of your mind is, the mind is so powerful, and I feel like that positive thinking and that positive reinforcement, and faith is one of those positive reinforcement, is being able to see that and feel that in your future definitely changes things. So this is one of my very favorite quotes. I have a lot of favorite quotes, but this is one of them. It says, "Your future is as bright as your faith." And this is from Thomas Monson. Your future is as bright as your faith. Okay? How bright is your future? How bright is your faith? Can you see your future self? Can you see what you want to become and what you want to accomplish? Or is that fear kind of overshadowing that faith and fogging up that picture of what you can see for yourself in the future? So I want you to think about that. Can you see what you want? Can you see those goals? Can you see yourself accomplishing that goal? If not, then take a look at that faith, that belief. Now, we kind of joke about, fake it till you become it. And I think this is part of that, is faking it till you become it is believing that you can be that before you actually have become that. Very, very powerful concept there. Now, in the last lesson, we also talked about changing those negative thoughts to positive ones. So instead of can I do it, it's I can do it, and how can I do it? So I see those negative questions as doubt-based. There's a lot of doubt, there's a lot of fear attached to those questions. But changing that to a more positive, it has that faith-based perspective to it. How can I do it? I can do it, and how can I do it? Is it possible? change to it is possible, and why is it possible? How is it possible? And will this work? To how will this work? And I will make it work. Okay, that's a very strong, powerful faith-based perspective. Okay, so in overcoming fear, there is one step. First, you have to identify what you are afraid of. So that fear, you have to identify, what am I afraid of? Now, there is kind of irrational fears. The way I see it is you have irrational fears and you have rational fears. Irrational fears are things like I'm afraid of flying because I'm flying an airplane because I'm afraid it will crash. Well, there's many, statistically, there's many more accidents in a car than there are in a plane. So if you're afraid of riding in a plane and not a car, it can kind of go into that category of irrational. Now, I'm not, and then there's rational fears based on your experiences. I have gotten in front of, I got up in front of an audience and spoke. They didn't understand me. It was a negative experience. That's a rational-based fear. Now, I'm not a psychologist, so I'm not going to be able to help with those irrational fears, but through my experience in overcoming that rational fear of getting in front of the camera, and then here are some examples or suggestions that I have in overcoming that type of a fear. Now, the first suggestion I have is to practice and prepare. Now, I like this quote that says, "Fear is not your enemy. It's a compass pointing you to the area where you need to grow." So that idea of practice and prepare, you can use that fear, you can use that feeling of fear to trigger, hey, this is something that I'm not confident in and something that I need to work on. I need to practice, I need to prepare and develop that skill so that I have more confidence and I don't feel that fear when faced with that. Now, if this picture brings fear to you, then you're probably to the point that speaking in front of people is something that you're not as fully confident in yet as you should be. Okay, so for example, an example for me would be if I were to stand up in front of a microphone, in front of an audience, and have to sing a song. That would be terrifying to me. I am not a singer. I have had no training, no practice whatsoever in singing. So if I were expected to get up in front of an audience and sing, that would be just terrifying to me. Now I would, if that was my goal, to be able to sing in front of an audience, then it wouldn't be that I would then schedule several performances to sing in front of people to overcome that fear. No, what I would need to do is I would need to take a step back and I would say, okay, my goal is to sing in front of this audience. I need to practice. I need to get a trainer, I need to get a coach, I need to get a teacher of some sort that can help me prepare for that event, help me prepare to take that action. And the more I prepare and as I practice, the more confident I will feel to be able to get up and do that performance. So as you've been going through this course, you have been practicing and preparing to be able to do that action of speaking in front of people. Now, you've probably had to speak in front of people along the way, but in your practice and your preparation, you're preparing for those situations. Okay, so another example going back to the videos is as I was creating these videos, I was practicing and preparing and I was doing what I needed to do to get ready for those videos, and then I started recording those videos. Now along the course, and I think I've mentioned this before, along the way, as I was practicing and as I was doing those videos, I was getting better. My skills were improving to the point where I realized I had gotten through all of the videos. I think there were 35, 40 different videos, hours and hours and hours of recorded material, and I realized I need to do these again because I'm now better and I have more skill now than I did before, and I need to redo them so that I can have those flow and those that result of those videos needs to be what I have become. Okay, so that is the key there. You have to practice and prepare and develop that skill, and that confidence will displace that fear. Okay, so that's the first one, practice and prepare. It really does help overcome that fear. Another idea, suggestion in overcoming fear is to change your perspective on it. Now there's a famous example, this picture of you'll either see a young lady or an old woman. So it's kind of visually, some people see this picture as an old woman and some people see it as a young lady. So with the young lady, what you're seeing is kind of the lady turned and her chin is turned this way, and her hair and she has a hat on and things, or some kind of scarf on her head, and she's turned to the side. Now the old woman perspective is that chin is her nose. Okay, the chin of the young lady is the nose of the old woman. So if you're seeing the young lady, then try and visualize the old woman with the nose being the chin and her mouth being the necklace. Okay, so see if you can kind of see those two different pictures within this one picture. So what this is suggesting here is it depends on our perspective. Okay, so one person might look at something and look at this picture and see a young lady. Another person might look at this and see an old woman. Okay, so that perspective really is a powerful thing. Like we said, the mind is powerful. Our perspective on the situation is powerful. So how does this relate to fear? Well, we can see our mistakes and our failures as a positive thing. Okay, so for me, as I was going through and developing my course and developing my business, and I was making mistakes. I was failing. I was very frustrated with a lot of the mistakes that I was making. A lot of failure, a lot of doing things wrong and not sure exactly how to do it correctly or do it in the way to get the results that I wanted. Now, during this time, I came across this quote that says, "Mistakes are proof that you are trying." And what I did is I stuck that up on my wall and I used that as my daily reminder to say, okay, I'm going to change. Instead of beating myself up and looking at these mistakes as a negative thing, I'm going to see it as a positive thing. And I'm going to see it as one step closer to getting the results because I know now what not to do. And I'm one step closer to finding what will work. Now, looking at this in terms of your spoken English and overcoming that fear is just thinking, okay, mistakes in my communication skills and mistakes in my English are going to be part of it. I have to step up, I have to speak, I have to practice these skills that I'm learning, and mistakes are going to be a part of it, but that's okay. It just means that I am practicing and I am learning and I am moving in the right direction. Okay? One thing that does help me is to be able to hear about other people's failures and how they've overcome them. So I came across this that listed a lot of different famous people and how they were able to overcome their failures. Now, Walt Disney, the famous Walt Disney of Disneyland and Mickey Mouse, creator of Mickey Mouse, he was fired from a newspaper early on in his career for lacking imagination and having no original ideas. Now that doesn't quite sound like Walt Disney, but at one time, that's what he came across. That's the failure that he had to face. And thankfully, he overcame that and he tried again. Another one is Michael Jordan, a very famous basketball player here in the United States. He was cut from his high school basketball team for having a lack of skill. Now, this seems crazy to think about now based on what he was able to accomplish in his basketball career. Lack of skill definitely wouldn't describe him, but at that time, that was a failure that he had to overcome. Albert Einstein, famous Albert Einstein, and all the wonderful contributions that he has given to science and to just thinking in general. He did not speak until he was 4 years old, and his teachers had kind of labeled him as he will never amount to much. Okay, obviously he did amount to a whole lot more than that. And contributed so much. Another example is the Beatles, a famous rock band. And they were rejected by a recording studio which said, we don't like their sound. They have no future in show business. Well, then they overcame that failure and went on to be a world famous rock band. So just some examples, and I guarantee that no matter what famous person or someone who has accomplished great things, if you ask them about their failures, there will be plenty of them. There will be plenty of mistakes they've made. The important part is they got back up and they saw that as not an opportunity to quit, but an opportunity to learn and to grow and to overcome. All right, so we can change our perspective about failure, about overcoming that fear of failure, and by changing that perspective and shifting it. Now the final strategy that I have for you, or suggestion I have for you, is in overcoming fear, is to do it. Okay, just do it. Just like the famous saying by Nike, just do it. Now, overcoming fear, courage is not the absence of fear. So it's not like courageous people all of a sudden don't have any fear attached to it. I'm pretty sure that there are very few people who get up to a microphone and don't have that feeling of nerves in their stomach. But courage is not the absence of that fear, but the triumph over it. It's saying, I'm scared of this, but I'm going to do it anyway. And that was from, that quote's from Nelson Mandela. Now, as we look at that idea of overcoming our fears by doing, I know that that's what you have to do every single day. You have to speak, you have to communicate in English. And it might be that you shy away from certain conversations, but I encourage you to not do that. I encourage you to do and to speak up and to practice and to keep learning and growing and trying. So that doing is a very important part. Okay, thinking about something won't overcome that fear. It's only by doing, it's at action that you're going to overcome the fear of what you are faced with. Okay, so let's kind of summarize here what we've talked about. Faith is the opposite of fear. Okay, the more faith we have in ourselves and our ability to become something, the more that we take steps towards that goal and towards that person that we know we can become, the more it displaces that fear, the more we can overcome that fear. The more we build that skill and that confidence in something, the more that fear can be dampened. Okay, we have to identify what we're afraid of so that we can address it directly. Now, once you've identified what you're afraid of, then there's a few suggestions in overcoming that fear. The first is to practice and prepare. As you practice and you prepare, you build more confidence and that fear can decrease. The second is to change your perspective. Look at failure, look at mistakes in a different way so that you can see it as an opportunity for growth instead of an opportunity to quit. Okay? And then do it. Do it. Overcome, practice, try. Take that action so that in that thing that you're afraid of so that you can overcome that fear. Okay? The more you practice, the more you do it, the less you will fear. So my goal for you is the next time that you get in front of a microphone in this situation, that you will feel more confident, that you will be able to overcome that fear through confidence and through that practice and that preparation and that changed perspective and that action. And I know you can do it, and I know you will. And you probably already have as you've gone through this course, and I know that you will continue to do that. So keep it up, and I'll see you again in the next video.
you.